In the spring of 2021, Wall Street shook, not from war, not from politics, but from a ghost. A man who turned $200 million into $30 billion and lost it all in less than 48 hours. His name? Bill Hwang. To some, a financial genius. To others, a reckless gambler with God on his side. This is the story of Archegos Capital Management. A tale of blind faith, opaque deals, and a system that let a man nearly bring the global markets to their knees, without anyone knowing his name. Welcome to Crooked. This is Bill Hwang, the $30 billion ghost of Wall Street. Bill Hwang was never supposed to be Wall Street's most dangerous man. Born in South Korea, raised in modest means, Hwang moved to the U.S. and studied at UCLA, then Columbia for his MBA. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't loud, but he believed in two things: faith and finance. He got his big break working under legendary hedge fund manager Julian Robertson at Tiger Management. Hwang was sharp, obsessive, and willing to bet big on conviction. He became one of Robertson's Tiger Cubs. And then, he broke off to start his own shop, Tiger Asia Management. Bill was smart, very smart, but he played fast and loose with the rules. Former Tiger employee to Bloomberg. In 2012, Tiger Asia was no longer just controversial, it was criminal. Hwang was charged with insider trading and manipulation of Chinese bank stocks. He paid $44 million to settle with the SEC. But the damage was done. Tiger Asia shut down. For most hedge fund managers, that would be the end, but not for Hwang. He reinvented himself. No longer a hedge fund, no outside investors, just family money, a family office, which meant far less oversight, and a fresh start. He saw it as God's calling, said a former Archegos employee. He talked about using money to glorify Christ. WSJ Interview 2021. From 2013 to 2020, Archegos stayed in the shadows. But behind the scenes, Hwang was building massive leveraged positions in a handful of media and tech stocks. Viacom CBS, Discovery Tencent, GSX Techadu, Baidu. Using total return swaps, complex financial instruments that allowed him to bet big without actually owning the stocks. Why swaps? Because they let him hide. Instead of disclosing massive holdings like normal investors, Hwang used swaps with banks like Credit Suisse, Nomura, Deutsche Bank, Morgan Stanley, and Goldman Sachs. Each bank thought they were his only dance partner. But Bill Hwang was leading 5 different balls at once. By early 2021, Archegos controlled synthetic positions in stocks worth over $100 billion. That's more than most hedge funds on Earth. But it wasn't real. It was leverage. Borrowed bets stacked on borrowed bets. In March, Viacom CBS announced a secondary stock offering. Investors balked. The stock dropped 23% in a single day. Because Hwang was so over-leveraged, a small dip meant banks wanted more collateral. Margin calls. And then, he couldn't pay. The banks panicked. Each raced to sell off the Archegos positions before the others did. It was a fire sale. $20 billion in value vanished over a single weekend. Credit Suisse alone lost $5.5 billion. Nomura lost $2.9 billion. Some called it the largest single margin call in history. This is a wake-up call for risk management across the entire banking system. FT, March 2021. Archegos wasn't a hedge fund. It didn't have to report holdings. It didn't face the same scrutiny. In the U.S., family offices manage over $4 trillion, with minimal oversight. The loophole let Hwang gamble billions with little transparency, and no one noticed, until it exploded. Bill Hwang didn't hide from the press. He said he was devastated, but maintained his innocence. I am deeply sorry for what happened, but I believed we were investing according to God's will. Hwang's statement, 2022. In April 2022, Bill Hwang was arrested. Federal prosecutors charged him with racketeering conspiracy, fraud, and market manipulation. He pleaded not guilty. This was not a financial collapse, it was a confidence game. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams. How did the world's biggest banks lend $30 billion to a man with a known history of fraud? Simple. They wanted the fees. Archegos generated tens of millions per year for these banks. They ignored red flags. They didn't share risk data with each other. Each bank thought it was in control until it wasn't. Bill Hwang awaits trial. Credit Suisse? Forced into a merger with UBS in 2023. Nomura? Restructured its risk division. But the core issue? Still here. Family offices remain largely unregulated, swaps are still legal, and banks still chase profit over prudence. In the end, Bill Hwang didn't break the system. He exposed it. There are no safeguards when greed meets faith in unchecked markets. CNBC analyst. This wasn't just a financial story. It was a cautionary tale, a ghost story, about a man who became too big to notice until he vanished. You've been watching Crooked. If it's about money, deception, and power, we uncover it. Subscribe for more true stories of the world's wealthiest criminals and the systems that let them get away with it until they don't.